All right. We have Mariam. Yeah, some of you are like siblings and you're still joining by like yourselves. Interesting. That's all right. Okay.
What was the PIN code?
6748379. Muhyiddin, you're the goat. All right.
6748379. 6.
You can also copy it from the chat zone. No?
Yes. Are we all on, or a few more people joining in?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Got it.
Who's named 13 Corona? Nada. Like, that's why we're here, because of this.
Okay, so the PIN was 678.
674
Oh.
8379. It's on my screen here, eh? Right here. You see that? Right there.
67483.
79.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
It's connecting.
No problem.
Uh-oh.
Sarah, Mahmoud, welcome. Good job. All right. I'm going to get started. Inshallah, the pin will still display at the bottom of the screen, and you can join in as we go. Is that okay? All right. I'm going to mute everybody just for the sake of keeping the Kahoot interesting. And I'll get, because, you know, sometimes people have a reaction when they get a question right or wrong. It might become a little turbulent. Let's get started, inshallah. All right. So first thing about the Kahoot is this is about a little bit of who I am, right? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Shagari Anwar. I am a teacher and imam in London, Ontario. I also teach Arabic online at alkothar.org. This is an organization that teaches online classes, in-person classes, etc. So I am part of that as well. Okay, that's me. Now I'm gonna have some questions about myself to introduce who I am to you, because again, we're not in the same city. We don't get to see each other regularly, so perhaps we don't know each other, right? So it's always nice to get to know each other before we begin. All right, here's a few things about myself. What do I teach at the mosque? Math, how to make coffee, science, or Islamic studies? And the answer is yes. All of you selected the correct answer. I teach Islamic studies at the mosque and also the school at the mosque. All right, very cool. We have, the teams are off to a start. Where was I born? Take a guess. London, Karachi, Pakistan, Toronto, or Alexandria, Egypt? And the correct answer is, I was born in Karachi, Pakistan. Not in Toronto, not in London, Ontario. I went to Alexandria to study there, so I kind of feel like I'm, a child of that soil as well. But I was born in Karachi, Pakistan. That's where my family was. Many of them still are. And then we moved from there to Canada when I was in my early teens. I was 13 actually when we moved here. All right. Where did I grow up once I moved from Pakistan to Canada? Hawaii, London, Mars, or Toronto? And the answer is, I grew up actually in Toronto. Before it was cool to be in Toronto, by the way. Now it's cool to be in Toronto. That was before it was cool to be in Toronto. Before it was known as the Six. Before it was known as T Dot. And then I recently moved to London, where I live now with my family. But my parents still live here in Toronto. My in-laws still are here in Toronto. We have a lot of family here. So it's always going to be home. All right. Next question. How many kids do I have? 3, 2, 4, or 1? It's a guess. You got to take a guess here. Some of them might come and join this class once in a while here. They'll make like a cameo. There's a couple of people who should answer so we can move on. Oh man, only one person selected the right answer. Okay, so I actually have 4 kids, alhamdulillah. I have 4 girls. They are 7, 5, 4, and I think 8 or 9 months old. I forgot how old the last one is. Alhamdulillah. So that's okay though. This is a difficult one because usually when I do this, the people who are attending the class have seen some of my kids, like in the mosque and whatnot. That's why it's a little bit more difficult. I think I should have made it a bit more obvious, but it's okay, no problem. It allows one person to go to the top of this list of our scoreboard here. All right, next one. What are my hobbies? Painting, running, making coffee, watching basketball. Isra, are you Mito? Is that your team? I see. And the answer, someone's not answering like till the very end. You gotta answer right away. The answers are, the last 2 are correct. I can't paint to save my life. Running, I don't know about running anymore. I used to run cross country in high school, but I was way lighter when I was doing cross country. Now I can't run that long. Coffee, that is definitely a big hobby of mine. I grind my own beans. I have like a whole method, right? If you follow me on Instagram, a lot of times I'll post how I'm making coffee. So, that is definitely a hobby. And watching basketball while it was on, now it's off, and it feels so like deprived. But yes, watching basketball is a big hobby. I was actually there for Game 5 of the NBA Finals with my brother-in-law. We were there at the Scotiabank Arena, almost seeing the Raptors win, but then they won the next game. So it was pretty cool. Alhamdulillah. It's a nice experience. Watching basketball is definitely a big hobby. All right. Where did I go on vacation during winter? Not this one, last winter. Turkey, Hajj, USA, or Umrah? The answer is in the picture. Somebody who's like not answering till the end. So I went for Umrah. Okay. Now, I can't go to Hajj in the winter, can I? Of course I can. Because Hajj is in the month of Dhul Hijjah. And Dhul Hijjah, the Islamic month of Dhul Hijjah, the lunar calendar, Dhul Hijjah currently falls at what time? I'll allow someone to like unmute themselves and tell me the answer. What time of the year approximately is Hajj these days? Anybody who knows the answer?
I might not know the answer, but can you give me a minute? My iPad is waking up.
No problem, Muhyiddin. Anybody know when Hajj is these days? September, August, September, right? July, August, September. Perfect, right? So that's the time. That's in the summer. That's why I said, where did I go on vacation? In the winter. So that was Umrah, not Hajj. Okay, you can't do Hajj outside of the months of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, which fun fact is true about me? I have no siblings. I play hockey. I have tried skydiving. I have 5 siblings. This is an interesting one. Some people are taking their time to answer this question. Another one where not many people got this one. So this is a surprise to many of you. Should be a surprise, I guess, because I think a lot of us have, large families with many siblings, alhamdulillah. But I actually don't have any siblings. I am the only child. And that was a very interesting experience growing up. So imagine all my cousins have like 3 or 4 siblings and I'm the only one who has no sibling. It's a very interesting experience. But alhamdulillah, that was me. All right, next question. Now this is about Adam and Eve. Ready? What was Adam alayhi salam was the first creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first human. True or false? First human. All right, the answer is true. He was the first human being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. We're going to talk about that inshallah. That's one of the topics that we're going to be covering in this class together. All right? Next question, true or false? Adam was created in heaven, like not on earth. He was created in heaven. True or false? The answer to that question is also true. This is one of the things we believe about the creation of Adam and Eve, that they actually were created in heaven, not on earth. And that is important because it allows us to understand their story and the struggle that they went through in a more cohesive and more comprehensive manner. Okay, moving on to the next question. This is going to get interesting. We have a few more questions left. Adam's wife Eve was created in heaven from his rib. True or false? Some of you might know this, some of you might not, but you have 50% chance of getting the answer right, even if you don't know. The answer is true. The Prophet ﷺ has told us this in the authentic narration, and we'll discuss what this means down the road in a few days, and what the implications of this are. And a very interesting part of our theology, this particular aspect, comparing and contrasting this with other religious traditions. Okay, next question. Adam and Eve could eat whatever they wanted in paradise. How many of you know this? This is true or false? That is false. That's correct. The answer was in the hint was in the picture. There was a tree that they were told not to eat from. And we'll discuss why that was the case and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed them and how Adam alayhi salam and Eve fell in the trap of the devil. Okay, and this is all topics that we'll discuss. We're gonna do this Kahoot to get us a baseline understanding. I want to see how much you know. Okay, the name of the chief devil is Iblees. True or false? The chief devil. That is true. Iblis is not just a devil; he is the chief devil, and he is the one who caused Adam alayhi salam to slip from his standing and seduced him into the error that he committed. Okay, so very interesting character, a very important part of our study coming up inshallah ta'ala today in this week inshallah. Okay, true or false?
I can't
Iblis-
see the answers when I'm on Kahoot.
Okay, Iblis was always a bad jinn. True, blue, false, red.
Sheikh, there is a question from one participant.
Yes, yes.
She said that she can't see the answers.
Oh, okay. The answers. So true is blue and red is false. In your
Yeah, I noticed also, I think they are in two different windows.
yeah.
So we have to make sure that we are switching windows.
I see. Yeah. So you might have to. So thank you for that, Sheikh Milay. I think you have to switch between windows if you're doing this, unless you're on like a mobile device and you can download the app or something. But here's the thing. There's like a 5-second pause before you answer. Okay. So you can look at the screen where the question is displayed. My screen. You see the question. You see the answer, and then you switch the tab to select which one. Does that make sense? Inshallah. Okay. Very good. Iblis was not always a bad jinn. Iblis, in fact, was an extremely devoted worshipper of Allah until he made the fatal mistake that he made that caused him to drop from being one of the best to being the worst. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about how mistakes aren't the problem. It's actually the Iblis, his mistake wasn't necessarily the problem. The problem was his attitude. He said to Allah, Ana khayrun minhu, I am better than Adam, his arrogance. He said to Allah, Qala Rabbi bima aghwaytani, my Lord, because you misguided me. It's your fault, God, not my fault. Right? That arrogant attitude, that blaming God for his mistakes, the fact that he thought he knew better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is actually the fatal mistake of Iblis, and we'll talk about that. Because all of us make mistakes, right? It's not just the mistake that caused it. It was the attitude, the arrogance, all that combined that was there. Okay. Iblis got kicked out of paradise and vowed revenge. True, blue, false, red. That is true. He was in paradise. He was a great worshiper. Then he made he committed the wrong he committed, and then committed himself to being an evil or a purveyor of evil, a spreader of evil throughout the end of time, till the end of time. And that's where he vowed revenge on Adam and against Adam and Adam's progeny. All right. Last question, I believe. Before we move on. Yes, last question. Iblis seduced Eve to eat from the forbidden tree. True or false? The answer is false, actually. It wasn't that he seduced Eve. He actually seduced both Adam and Eve. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this very clearly. He says, فَأَكَلَا مِنْهَا. They both ate from it. Which religious tradition believes it was Eve that was seduced to eat from the forbidden tree? Anybody know? Christianity, exactly. This is part of the Christian doctrine that they believe it was Eve who made the mistake, and thus it was her fault. Whereas we as Muslims don't believe that. We reject that. Okay, so our understanding of our faith and our theology, a lot of it comes from the story of Adam and Eve, how we view gender relationship, how we view good and evil, how we view creation, how we view our life in this world versus the next. And this is part of that story. Adam and Eve, it wasn't Eve's fault. It wasn't the woman's fault. It was actually both of their collective fault. Both of them collectively made an error. And that's why in Islam, it's not like our theology is very clear about this. Inna al-muslimina wal-muslimat wal-mu'minina wal-mu'minat. Believing men and believing women. Believing men and women who submit. The way it works on the reward of the akhirah, the sin that a person may be liable for, the reward that they earn, that is irrespective of their gender. It is respected, it is contingent upon, it depends upon their sincerity, depends upon how well they do something or how poorly they do something. That's how, this is the foundation of our belief as well. Okay, so that was the last question. Let us see the podium here. All right, on the podium we have Maryam, third place, mashallah. Second place, Corona, oh God. First place is Mito. I don't know what that means. Can you explain what that means? Who's that? Isra, right? Isra, can you tell us what that means? It's the powerhouse of the cell. What?
Yeah, I learned it this year.
Mitochondria. It's the powerhouse of the cell.
Exactly.
Oh, hey, I was like, biology was definitely not my thing. All right, so don't expect me to know that. All right, well, I'll take your word for it, Isra. Well done, mashallah. Great job, everybody. Jazakumullahu khairan. Let us get started now with the presentation, okay? With Adam and Eve. So this was good. We got to know each other a little bit, and I got a little bit of an understanding of how much you know when it comes to the story of Adam and Eve. And I hope you see why this is an important story for us, because it really does set the stage for us in many ways of how we view, how we understand our faith. Okay, the story of Adam and Eve. Let's get started. Why are we discussing this story? Let's talk about that, because we have to know why we're doing something before we do it. It's important for us to know the reasoning why we're studying something, the reason why we practice what we practice, the reason why we pray the way we pray. These things are important questions to ask, and important clarity to have, because when you understand why you're doing something, it's a lot easier for you to figure out how to do it. You see, and that is why it's important that we start this question. Why Adam and Eve? Well, we start at the very beginning, at the beginning of creation, before there was essentially conflict between people, before there was at the very beginning of creation, we find out how we were as humans and what is the essential human values, okay, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instilled in Adam alayhi salam. It teaches us about race relations. It will teach us about how we view our life in this world and our life in the next world, right? Like, what is there a purpose to this life? Is it only for now? Is it building up to something? The story at the very beginning gives us that very clear picture. Okay. There's lots to learn from this story. Okay. There's a lot of things to learn. We'll learn about miscellaneous topics that are all sprinkled throughout the story of Adam and Eve. It's not just a simple story. Here's what happened. Here are the facts, and move on. There's a lot of little things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves as tangents, as points of discussion. For example, we'll talk a lot about towards the end how it was that the devil deceived Adam and Eve. Like, how could you deceive a person in paradise? How does that happen? Did the devil end up in paradise? How did he overpower Adam and Eve when they're all by themselves? What does it tell us about the idea of temptation, right? What does it tell us about when Allah says in the Quran, لِيُبْدِيَ لَهُمَا مَا وُودِيَ عَنْهُمَا مِنْ سَوْآتِهِمَا. Iblees, or the devil, wanted to do this to Adam and Eve so that their nakedness may become apparent to them. What does that mean? And what does that have to say about us as human beings? Very interesting tangents throughout the story of Adam and Eve. We'll start at the very beginning of this, which is the first story mentioned in the Quran. Sequentially, if you go in the Quran, the first surah is what surah? You can unmute your mic and say it, or type the answer.
Baqarah.
Surah Baqarah. What's surah before Surah Baqarah? Surah Fatiha. Very good. So Surah Fatiha is surah number 1. Surah number 2 is
Baqarah.
Baqarah. Perfect. Now, in Surah Baqarah, the first story that Allah tells us, or the first historical narration or account that He describes, is the story of Adam and Eve. Okay, the Quran uses history to teach us about the present. It uses history to teach us about ourselves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started, the first time He mentioned history in the Quran sequentially is this story, or this incident of Adam and Eve. So there's a lot to learn from the first time Allah mentions something. Okay, so that is a few reasons among many. Okay, the beginning of creation. I'm going to be actually displaying, I'll be switching between, I'll be switching between a couple of things here. I'm going to use the site called tanzil.net, okay? And I'm going to be using tanzil.net as a way to read the story from the Quran, okay? Isn't the first surah Surah Al-Fatiha? That is correct. The first surah is Surah Al-Fatiha. You're absolutely right. The first story, right? The first story in the Quran is the story of Adam and Eve. Okay? Like sequentially. Does that make sense, Zainab? All right, perfect. All right, here is what we're going to do. This is ayah number, what's the ayah number here? Can anybody tell me what is the ayah number that I am looking at right now?
29.
29, okay? What's the next ayah? 30, very obvious, right? Okay. Ayah number 30 is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the how Adam alayhi salam was created, right? That story begins at ayah number 30. But we're gonna start at ayah number 29. Okay? Why? Okay, here is why. Let me read the Arabic. I'll have a volunteer read the English translation, and then I'll read the Arabic. Yes, the class is sponsored by Tanzil.net. All right. So I'll read the Arabic, and I'm going to ask a volunteer to read the English. هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم. Can I have a volunteer reading the translation?
I'll do it.
All right. Go for it.
It is He who created everything on earth for you. Then He turned towards heaven and fashioned it into 7 heavens. He has no knowledge of all things.
MashaAllah. Well done. Sorry, who was this who's reading? I have the participant list off. Was that what was your name again?
Abdul Ghani.
Abdul Ghani. MashaAllah. Abdul Ghani, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Jazakallahu khairan. All right. Oh, sorry. Let me mute you all here. My mistake. I was pressing the wrong button there. All right. This ayah, the ayah before the story of Adam alayhi salam, says it is Allah who created. It is He who created everything on the earth for you. And then He turns towards the heaven and fashioned it into 7 heavens. Okay? So, created for you what is on the earth. This means that whatever is on the earth, Allah has made it a resource for us as human beings. Okay, not for it to be exploited. Okay, because exploitation is impermissible in Islam. Wal arda wada'aha lil anam, like Allah says, Allah has made the earth for all living beings, and it has this very delicate balance. فَلَا تُخْسِرُ الْمِيزَانِ, do not disturb this balance, don't throw it out of whack, right? So that's how He's made the earth. It's for all creation, but the resources on the earth, all of them are made for us as human beings to benefit from, to consume, to enjoy. Okay, the reason why this is important is because Allah is trying to tell us, before He tells us the story of Adam and Eve, He's trying to tell us that we're actually meant to live on the earth. Okay, it's not like we were meant to live only in heaven, and it was the mistake of Adam that cost us the opportunity to be in paradise. No. We were meant to be on earth. Okay? And Allah has made whatever is on the earth a resource for us, so we can utilize it, benefit it, consume but not waste. Consume but don't waste. That's our place. But then this is not our permanent place. This is not where we are going to be forever. Okay? This is a temporary place. We're here for a small number of years. You know, you might think life is long, but 50, 60, 70 years, 80 years, it's not a lot of time. Compare that to like the history of the world. It's not even like a drop in the ocean. So we're here only for a very small amount of time. Our permanent home is then the next life, is in Jannah, inshallah. Okay? But it's not that we are here because Adam made a mistake. We were meant to be here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to clarify that before He actually proceeds to talk about the story of Adam and Eve. Okay? He also says something. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ, and then He turned towards the heaven. Okay? Here, as-sama, heaven, here actually means sky, not heaven. Okay, I'll show you what this means. Okay, if I search for the word heaven, whatever that is, but if I go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary here, look at the definition of heaven, because this is how it's translated quite often. It's asking me to. I don't want to disable my ad blocker. Sorry. All right. So, heaven with a small h is the sky. The expanse of space that seems to be over the earth like a dome. That's the sky, right? But capital H is Jannah, heaven. This is in English. This is the usage of it. When we read the translation and it says heaven with a small h, it is referring to what? The sky, not Jannah. You with me? Because this is going to come a lot. We'll be reading a translation. I want to explain to you, when a translation says something, what does it actually mean? What this ayah is referring to is, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the earth, He also made, or as He was making the earth, He was also made the sky, and He made the sky sab'a samawat, into 7 skies, one on top of the other. And the sky that we see, that we observe, when we observe it, is the sky that's the lowest level. Okay, and this is part not just of our belief. We believe that these are 7 skies that Allah has made, but also something that if you know about the universe, you study a little bit of astronomy, the scale of the universe is so mind-boggling, right? It literally blows your mind how massive the universe is, and that's only the part that we can observe. The part that we can't even observe is perhaps even larger than the part that we know of that exists. So it is not like infeasible, right? It's not logically like impossible to understand or to know that there is more to the sky, right? There's more to the sky than what meets the eye, and that's what Allah says. He's made it so massive and expansive. فَسَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ, into these 7 layered skies, and that shows the magnificence of His power and His might. But the earth that we're supposed to be on, that is where we live. Above the skies, Above the seventh sky is the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which above which Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa, who he is established above the throne. So this is how we understand the cosmos briefly. Now, what's the next ayah? The next ayah says, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Okay, any volunteer to read the translation for me? Somebody else? Fatima? Okay, Fatima, go ahead. I have unmuted you.
When the Lord said to the angels, I am putting a censor on earth,
A successor.
successor on earth, they said, will you place someone there who will cause
Corruption.
corruption on it and shed blood? Well, we glorify you with your pride and extol your holiness. God answered, surely I know that which you do not know.
Okay, thank you very much, Fatima. This is the beginning of the story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he told the angels, I'm going to place on earth a Khalifa. Okay, a Khalifa. How many of you have heard this word before, Khalifa?
I have.
You have? Excellent. You can type yes or no. Perfect, very good. Okay, the word Khalifa, okay, what does the word Khalifa mean? What does it say in the translation? It says successor, right? Anybody else know another meaning of Khalifa? So it says successor in the translation. Okay, well, what else? Leader. Okay, I like that. Israt, well done, leader. What else? Ruler. Very good. The Khalifa was also in English was the caliph, right? They is the ruler, the one who is in charge of running the country or the empire, right? Caliph. Perfect. Excellent. So that's what the word. That's how the word Khalifa is used. A leader, a ruler, a caliph, right? But in Arabic, linguistically, the word has a very precise meaning. Its etymology, the word originates from the word khalafa, okay? Which means for something to be behind something, okay? For like things to be like back to back kind of thing, you know, like here's a phone and here's a cup. They kind of like the cup is ahead and the phone is behind the cup. That's the idea of khalaf. So it is successive. Allah says that he is going to place Adam on, like humans on earth, and they're going to be Khalifa. They are supposed to be successive, one after the other, generation after generation. Again, very beginning of the story, Allah tells us it's not Adam's fault that we're here. We were meant to be on earth. This is our home temporarily, and then our permanent home, inshallah, is in the akhirah. But we're supposed to be successive. What it also means is successive is something when you are, like animals are successive too, right? You know, like you have any type of animal, like a lion, for example, they have their herd, they live, they procreate, and then their kids procreate, and so on and so forth. But Khalifa specifically is someone who's successive and also someone who plans for succession. Okay? Someone who is planning that they're living now and then their kids will live on this earth and their grandkids will live on this earth. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us as human beings. That's what's different about us, or supposed to be different about us, compared to the rest of Allah's creation. We're supposed to think not just about ourselves, but we're supposed to think about our kids and our grandkids and great grandkids. We have to think of the earth as a place where we're here temporarily and we leave it just as good or hopefully in a better place for the next generation. Okay, this is not just like some these are not thoughts that just are just opinions. You look at the Quran, you look at the Prophet's life. This is how he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, explain things to us. Oh, sorry, yeah, we're going to 2:45. Oh, I'm sorry, 1:45. Like we're gonna go up to 1:45. I have about 8 minutes left. Is that right? Because we started a little, later, but every day we're gonna end around 2:40. I'm sorry, 1:40 your time, my time 2:40. Is that all right? Yes or no? People, thumbs up. Yes. Good. Okay. All right. Alhamdulillah. The idea is the Prophet ﷺ, for example, tells us that if you have in your hand a seedling, okay, إِذَا قَامَتِ السَّاعَةُ, it's about to be, you're on earth, okay, and you see that the day of judgment is about to start, okay, this is now the end of the world happening in front of your eyes, subhanallah, okay, but in your hand is a seedling. You know what a seedling is? Seedling is like a small plant. You plant it and hopefully over time it grows. He says if you have a seedling in your hand and you see that the world is about to end, but if you're able to فَلِسْتَطَاعَ أَنْ يَغْرِسَهَا قَبْلَ أَنْ تَقُومَ فَلْيَغْرِسْهَا, if you're able to plant it before the world ends, plant it. Okay? What the Prophet ﷺ is saying is, we try to leave the earth, we try to prepare whatever we can. We plant a seed now for the people in the future. We plant a tree right now for those who come after us. Meaning, we prepare whatever we do for ourselves, but also for our kids, our grandkids. That is succession. That's what makes us humans. That's what makes us responsible, good humans. And also this hadith tells us that, the idea of, for us Islamically, is we're always optimistic and hopeful. We're trying to do our best given our circumstances. Even if hypothetically, the worst case thing can happen, the world is about to end, you still focus on whatever you can do, which is, if I can plant this tree, I'll plant it. Even if I know nothing will come out of it, but I do my best. I do my part. That's what I focus on. That's trusting Allah. That's having faith in Allah. That's having, optimism, even in tough times. Okay, that's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. That's how he lived. Okay, that was his life. Being someone who plans for the one who comes after. We see Ibrahim alayhi salam, our father Ibrahim alayhi salam. We believe Ibrahim alayhi salam to be our father spiritually. Okay, millata abikum Ibrahim, the way of your father Abraham. We believe him to be our father spiritually. Also, from the fact that even if, we have narrations of people whose kids pass away. Okay, a child passes away. The Prophet ﷺ describes that Ibrahim alayhi salam, his soul is taking care of the souls of the children of the believers, because he is our spiritual father. Okay, our father Ibrahim alayhi salam, when Allah tells him in Surah Al-Baqarah, I am going to make you a leader. Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. You are going to be a leader for humanity. Okay. What was Ibrahim alayhi salam's response? He says, قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. He says, what about my kids? What about my grandkids? Who are they going to also be assuming this responsibility of leadership? The idea is Ibrahim alayhi salam's thought immediately was succession planning. How am I going to ensure that my next generations, they also carry this responsibility, that they're taken care of? This is what is part and parcel of us as human beings. We're not just meant to be on earth to do whatever we want and then we die. No, we're supposed to be here taking care of ourselves, preparing for our eternal home, but leaving this home for those who come after us. إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Also, Khalifa means has a meaning of an ambassador, just like you said, as a leader, a ruler. The Khalifa is essentially representing a higher authority, right? And that's what we are supposed to be as humans. We are supposed to be ambassadors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. We are supposed to represent Him. So us as Muslims, our lives aren't just like, hey, I'll just do whatever I want, and just it's my life, it's my time, it's my money. In fact, our actions we are supposed to represent the goodness of Islam, the grace of Allah through our lives. Okay, that's how we're supposed to carry ourselves at all times. You might think that, well, this is burdensome. Why am I carrying this burden? Because that's how Allah told us. That's the role of the human. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. We're meant to be representatives of Allah on the earth, and not just, like someone who just, their entire purpose in life is just consumption and materialistic pleasure. No, for us there is a bigger purpose to life, and that's what Allah tells us in the very beginning. That's who you're supposed to be. Don't forget, that's who you are. That's what makes you special as a human being, as a Muslim. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates Adam. We'll come to that actually tomorrow, but let's see what the angels say first. Angels say, أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ. Will you place someone here on earth who will cause corruption and will shed blood? Okay, so my question for you is, and we'll end with this conclusion, with this question, inshallah. How did the angels know that humans will shed blood and cause corruption? Okay, I want to see if we have an answer to that, and then with that we will end, inshallah ta'ala. What do you guys think? You can unmute your mic and say what's on your mind. So, yes, so who's this?
Abdul Ghani.
Abdul Ghani again. Yes, Abdul Ghani. What's up?
Maybe because he told them that they have free will.
Free will. Excellent, Abdul Ghani. Abdul Ghani, how old are you?
10.
10, mashallah. Good man.
I have an idea.
Yes.
Because before we were created, there was jinn, I think, in the earth.
Before humans, there were.
So they were corrupt. Like they were corrupt. Or they would shed blood, and so the malaika were told, like, they had to go and basically, I guess, fight them. So I think that's where they got that mentality from.
So angels basically used the jinn as an
example.
As an example. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Muhyiddin. Thank you. That was Sana, right? Is that right? Yes, Sana, thank you very much. Yes, Muhyiddin.
Created Adam. Allah created Adam and everything.
Move the mic away a little bit, Muhyiddin.
Sorry.
Yeah, just speak normally. It's okay. Yeah, speak normally.
Allah created.
Yeah, we're actually not able to hear you properly, Muhyiddin. Do you want to just type your answer if you don't mind? Just type the answer. Is that okay? No problem. Sometimes the mic doesn't work. It's okay. We have Zainab saying, because they say how God made humans. Okay, very good. Because angels know how humans are made, and humans are a species of need. Okay, so humans are species. Oh, species of need. Okay, I like that. Okay. Any other answers before we conclude?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe like the angels, like humans were a new creation, right? So maybe the angels just like, because it was something new, they just assumed that they would shed blood and corrupt.
Yeah. As the humans were a new type of creation. Is that right? Does that kind of summarize what you're saying?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. So we'll talk about this in more detail tomorrow. But the interesting thing here is, here's what I want you to think about this today. The angels, when Allah said to them, hey, I'm going to do this, the angels are like, why? Right? Will you place someone on earth who will cause corruption? Do you notice that? How many of you notice that? The angels asked Allah, why? Right? Not say, hey Allah, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. No. They're like, oh Allah, explain to us why you're doing this. Do you see how the angels wanted to know the reason why Allah is doing something? And that's a lesson for us, that in Islam we're actually supposed to ask, why are we doing this? Why is this the case? Why is this halal? Why is this haram? It's fine to ask that. But we ask the question to understand, so that our understanding is deeper and stronger, and our actions are more, our devotion is firmer. Not because we're trying to ask a question to find a reason not to do something. You see? So we'll talk about this tomorrow, actually. This is an important point. We'll discuss this tomorrow. I know my time's up. Jazakumullah khair, everybody, for coming out. Tomorrow at 12:30, please be here. I'll send a message on the WhatsApp group closer to the beginning of time. Also, an email closer to beginning time, inshallah. And I hope to see you, and then we'll get cracking with a lot of content starting tomorrow. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Barakallahu fikum, everyone. And yeah, again, it's a daily meet, kind of meeting. So we'll see you tomorrow, inshallah, not next week.
Yes, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much, everybody. It was really nice to meet you all virtually, alhamdulillah. And it was really nice to get to know you today, and hopefully getting to know you even more this week, inshallah ta'ala. And we'll get to learn something really cool together, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Barakallahu fikum. Wa alaikum assalam.
Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bye.
Take care, people.
See ya.
See you tomorrow, inshallah.